Okay, so today I'm going to make a tagine. So I got really enthusiastic. I'd made it before, but I got really enthusiastic about this when I went to Morocco last year. And and we actually did go, I actually did go to a cooking school one day, just one day, so it was not a big deal. But they may insist on giving us aprons. So I guess I'll wear this for a while I'm doing anything cooking with the oil and stuff. I don't really want to get that on my clothes. Okay. So usually the dog gets it. That's so the basics of tagine. You don't have to have a tagine. This is called the tagine too, but you don't have to actually have this to cook it. You can cook it with a you can use a heavy, like a Dutch oven or something, but everybody thinks that tagine's cooked in the oven, but it's really not. It's cooked on top of the stove. Mostly, this started with the Berbers who live out in the desert, and they have there's a thing that looks like a bowl that has charcoal in it and has three little things on the side. They put the tagine on top of it and cook that way. But it's really interesting to watch. So I'm going to get started, and I think everybody has the recipe, but please yell if you have any questions along the way. One thing, when you're doing this on top of the stove, I have a gas stove, you have to use some kind of diffuser or you will break the ceramic tagine. So you need some kind of diffuser. They sell flat metal plates, and then some of these with little holes in them and stuff. So I've used this a couple of times before, it works fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is put in 2 tablespoons of oil. So it's not a lot of fat, it's not a lot of greasy. You don't have to brown the meat. I'm going to brown the almonds in here first. Sounds a little weird, but that's the way it works. Okay, and so I'm going to turn the heat on to sort of medium high, and I want to get this open diffuser. So when this gets hot, I'm going to add my almonds. So they're blanched almonds. You can buy them already blanched, which I did. But if you want to blanch your own, you just put them in boiling water, then take them out, put them in a towel, and rub it till the skins come off of the almonds. Okay, and in the meantime, while that's getting hot, I'm going to put the garlic and the onions into the chopper. I don't do onions by hand, sorry. So one of the, you might have seen where I did one before, I used this little gadget is the easiest thing and wonderful if you cook with any kind of garlic very often. And if you're going to make garlic chicken with like 50 cloves of garlic, you definitely need this. But what you do is you just chop the ends off the garlic. So skins come off easier. You put put the garlic clove in it, and you roll it on a hard surface, and it comes out nice and clean. And there's your right out there. Okay, so I'll do another one real quick. Sometimes part of the skin comes off when you cut off the ends, but usually, sometimes it's so hard to get that thin paper covering on the garlic off. This just works wonderfully. Always comes out clean. Of course, you don't have to do that and peel them, but I just like this little thing spray. I just found it's the easiest way to do any of this stuff. Okay. So then I'm going to get rid of the garlic skins. And I don't really cook like Julia Child, where she throws them all on the floor and has the sous chef chicken pick it up. I don't think Donna signed up for that. I do have a dog who will come in and eat everything on the floor. But
garlic's not good for them.
Yeah, no, not good. A lot of people think it is because they think gets rid of fleas, but it's really bad for them. Okay. So I don't know if I had to put this in the Cuisinart or do this by hand. I just do the garlic by hand. It's easier. So I'm going to take 2 red onions. So I'm going to put my almonds into the oil and stir it a little bit. And they will eventually turn a little golden brown. Okay, so just gonna like half or quarter my onions, throw them in the Cuisinart. I mean, you can chop all this by hand if you want, but I hate chopping onions by hand. And put it in here to just do it for you. Small enough. Let's check this. Sometimes there's a couple of big pieces in there, which won't matter much because it's all going to cook down in the stew anyway. But a couple of big pieces. Okay, and I'm going to chop up the garlic. Let's take a look at the. They don't have to get very brown, they're just a little golden. I'm going to chop up the garlic. There again, you don't have to worry too much about chopping it really fine, because even though it says fine, because it actually all cooks into the, I mean, you won't find any pieces of garlic in here or pieces of onion when you're eating it. It's all mixed. It cooks for a long time. So I warn you ahead, you'll see how to make it. But I'm sorry you will not see the finished product because it takes too long. And the last time I made this, I should have taken pictures. I looked through my photos. I may have taken a picture of it all finished, but I don't think I did. And if I did, then you can see how it really looks like a nice, dark, rich stew when you get through. You'll notice, I noticed that a couple of people tell me they don't like lamb, which is really a shame because lamb is wonderful. And it's not the same thing as mutton, which some people think it's awful, which yeah, I have to agree. Boiled mutton is nothing like lamb. If you, so in case you don't like lamb, I also put a recipe in. I think you'll probably see it online. I sent it on the recipe for a chicken tagine. Now it's not made with exactly the same ingredients, so you have to read the recipe. It's different when you do chicken. They usually use it with the chicken's done with what do they call it? They're preserved lemons. Actually, I'd call it more like salted lemons. So you can buy the preserved lemons at the Middle East grocery store, which is the easy way to do it. But if you want to do it yourself and you want to do preserved lemons, I'm going to show you the book that I got these recipes from. I did bring a book back from Morocco that has recipes in it, but I thought it was a little bit harder to follow because it tells you things like, oh, buy this spice at your local spice store. Yeah, right. And then and there are things that you wouldn't find here easily. But there's this, This book that I did use. This is the book I did use, and I ordered it. I just ordered it online. This is the one I got in Morocco, and it also does things in ounces. And I noticed they sort of made it for the tourist trade, I think, because it tells you some places to use your pressure cooker to cook the meat ahead of time. I'm going, what? We don't even make stew that way. But anyway, it has beautiful pictures in it, so that's good. The pictures are very nice. And this is sort of what our tagine looks like when it gets through. This is a little bit different recipe, but it looks a lot like that. And of course, it looks lovely in that painted tagine. But I will warn you that we were warned at the cooking school, don't buy one to cook in if you're going to take one home, because a lot of it has lead paint in it. So, you know, it's just like if you buy Mexican pottery, you have to be sure you're not getting something that has lead paint in it. So we waited until we got home. First of all, I thought, how the heck did I carry this thing on the plane? And nobody there. It's not like going to Italy where they'll ship you anything. But there you're like, okay, you bought it, you pack it and you carry it yourself. So it was, we thought, well, wait till we get back. So actually we ordered the tagine online at Sur La Table, which you can just order online. I think I ordered, I'm trying to think, I bought the book. I looked up different recipe books for Moroccan cooking when I got home. And I'm pretty sure I bought this on Amazon, but I may have bought it at one of the other online bookstores. But this lady is, her name is, I don't know how you pronounce it exactly, but Chili Bassam. And she's supposed to be a noted Moroccan cook. So I thought she's good. And the pictures and stuff in here are great, as well as the cooked. So this is the picture she put in of what the finished product's supposed to look like. Okay. So these look a little bit brown now. Yeah, you don't want them, you know, too brown, but just a little brown. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is add the onions and garlic and saute until they begin to change color. So put the garlic in first. Onions.
While that is browning up, Nancy, Debbie had a question about the dress that you're wearing. Is that a Moroccan dress?
Yes, I'll take that. I'll take the apron off in a minute and show you. But yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of what they're called again. Or I bought a couple of different things like that, because that's a kind of, you know, soft item you can just throw in your suitcase. Bringing home breakables is a lot harder. And limited amount of suitcase stuff. So we did spend, we went all over Morocco. So we started up in the north. We went to the capital, And then we went down further down to Marrakesh. Then we went way out. We spent one night out in the desert in a tent and rode camels, just like tourists do that go there. And it was really fun because it's beautiful at, sunset, and the sand dunes are all out there, sort of orange color. It's beautiful. And the next day we went to a lady's house, a Berber, who wanted to invite us in for tea. You have mint tea, but it's usually before or after dinner. It's not really served with dinner. It's in a way, it's really nice after dinner. It's like sort of a palate cleanser. So she invited us in for mint tea, and there weren't that many of us. How many there were? Like, I think 14 of us in the group. So we went, and but the bad part was that I watched, apparently she had another group had come earlier, but there is no water much out in the desert. So I watched her, like, she takes the glasses from the group before and wipes them out with a towel and then pours new tea for everybody. I went, yeah, I don't really feel like any today. It's too hot. So I guess it sort of bothered me that we would wash them in between. But they do have out in the sand dunes, when you're going along, you can see down in the bottom of the sand, they've made solar panels attached to water pumps, so that out in the desert, they now can get some water and electricity from the pumps, which is pretty innovative. And it's interesting, they're not on top of the sand dunes like they're some, huge ugly thing sticking up there. And I'm thinking maybe because it's down in the sand dune, maybe it concentrates the heat or the light more around it. But I thought those were kind of interesting. They didn't point those out to us. We just happened to see them. Okay, what are we going to do next now? Okay, a thumb-sized piece of ginger. Well, now let's see. What do I do about there? I did cut off a piece of ginger already, off a big knob of fresh ginger. So I cut off a piece. It's about a thumb size. And then you need to chop this up pretty small, which I guess I should have done ahead of time, but I didn't. Yeah, ginger is very tough and fibrous, but it makes a big difference to put in fresh ginger. And garlic and ginger and turmeric are some of the essential things they put in most of their cooking. Oh, and cinnamon. Another one of the essentials. And so it sounds as if things would be really sweet, but they aren't. When you eat it, it doesn't taste sweet. It has sort of a mixture of, it's here. Ooh. Get this ready to go. Now this does need to be chopped up pretty fine. It's very fibrous, so it will not cook down as much as the softer things like garlic and onions. So one of the places I found most interesting that we went to in Morocco, besides, they show you all the palaces and the kings and all this stuff, all the history with it, but Rabat, which is really the main city. But when you get down to further down from Marrakesh, you get to we went to a place where, sort of like in China when they found the Xi'an warriors, somebody was out digging in his backyard garden and all of a sudden he hit a fossil So we started digging, and there's this huge bed of sea fossils that are just incredible. And so they started digging, and now they have a little store in front where they sell fossils, and it provides a lot of work for people, because a lot of the things they're doing to clean the fossils up. Some of it's done with a little bit of machinery, but a lot of it's done by hand sanding and hand. Interesting to watch. Oof. Okay. And so I put in the ginger, and then I'm going to add the saffron and 2 cinnamon sticks and the coriander seeds. Put in the 2 cinnamon sticks. That flavor just permeates it. Now, the other thing we did do when we were there was we bought some saffron, because saffron is very expensive in the US. But I still had some left. I used most of what I had bought in Turkey a couple of years ago. So I thought, okay, while we're here, we need to buy some more saffron. So we bought some saffron, just a couple of threads of saffron. But it does make just a couple of threads makes a big difference in the taste. So you really need just a couple of threads. You don't need a ton of it, just a couple of threads of saffron. I mean, they sell this in the US by the ounce, I think.
By the gram. I think by the gram.
By the gram, yeah, probably.
Very expensive.
Very expensive, yeah. And then I'm going to add the coriander seeds, which I have measured out already. And so it says crush them. I usually use a little mortar and pestle to crush the seeds. And it makes a difference. Using ground coriander doesn't taste quite the same. So I would definitely do what it says and use seeds and crush them. And that you won't be chomping on seeds when it's done. It'll all fit in here pretty well. So let's see. You don't have to, make it into powder. You just want to make sure the shells on the outside of the seeds are. So we're done. We'll sprinkle the seeds in. Coriander smells wonderful. And we can saute this for a few minutes, just for a minute. You don't have to do this for a long time because it's all going to be cooked in here eventually together. And when you add saffron to things like, you add saffron to rice or orzo or something, it turns it very yellow. And I can see in here, it's a little yellow, but mostly what happens when the saffron threads get hot, they turn kind of bright red. Yeah, good color. Yeah. Then I'm gonna add the meat. Now I've cut the lamb up. I used a leg of lamb, and I cut it up into little cubes. I did it. I did last one maybe a month ago, and then I put them in the. I don't know. You may use the freeze lock things, which I just love. So you can have things ready ahead of time, and they're vacuum packed. I vacuum packed them in here and marked it for 1 pound of lamb. I'm going to add my lamb. make sure the meat is covered with the onions and spices and stuff. So you want to get that all kind of really infused into the meat. The meat's covered with onions and garlic and almonds, all the good tasted stuff in there. Get the cinnamon sticks stuck down into the goop. All right. Okay, then I'm gonna let that just heat up a minute, and then I'm gonna add water. Which sounds weird, like, because we usually brown meat and don't do that, but this does not call for browning the meat. None of the recipes I looked at in both books call for browning the meat. You're just going to stew it. So then I'm going to add enough water to cover the meat, bring it to a boil, and simmer for about an hour until the meat is tender. Okay, so this means you guys are not going to get to see much of the finished product, but I guess you can see what's in there now, right? You see that now? You can see the inside, what that looks like, right? Looks pretty good. Smells good. Sorry, you can't smell it. Then I'm going to put water. I'm going to add water to make sure the meat is covered. Make it a little more. So I'm adding about a cup and a half of water, because this is all going to stew down. But
So Nancy, do you have any recommendations for restaurants either in San Diego or nearby that might make authentic Moroccan food, in your opinion?
actually, I don't. But if anybody else knows, chime in. I'd like to know too. I actually just cook it myself usually. I mean, there are lots of Middle East restaurants, and lots of Middle East grocery stores. A couple of Middle East grocery stores that are very good. And I know the one over on Balboa that's sort of back behind. It's next to Soupy's, the name of the little club next to it. And what's it called? International. And it has all kinds of Middle Eastern food, and you can get takeout there. We did one at the retirement center a couple of years ago where we ordered the food from there. And I think we had kifta, and we had different kinds of things that are Middle East and Moroccan. And that was all very good. So it's really a good takeout place. I used to buy some of the things that I wanted at the Harvest Ranch. Now, Harvest Ranch had two stores. One, I think it's in City Heights? Is that what it is? But the other one was right off Claremont Mesa Boulevard, and it was great because it was really close to where I live. And I mean, there you could go in, if you go to a US grocery store, you buy mint, you buy a little tiny package in a plastic box. Well, there you could buy big bunches of mint and big, bunches of fresh things that you might want. And one of the things that a lot of them use is a lot of fresh ingredients. I don't really know that many restaurants. I've eaten at Red Sails, which I think some people ate at yesterday. Was it yesterday? There was a lunch thing. I didn't go because I was busy yesterday, but it's called Red Sea. It's Red Sea. I'm sorry, Red Sea or Red Sails. Anyway, it was on the list of things for lunch punch, and I had eaten there before and recommended it. I thought it was really good. So I don't really know of any other restaurant places. There's, there is, well, it's mostly Iranian food, though. There's one in the Del Mar Shopping Center right off of Del Mar Heights, but you go to the west side and there's a little shopping center in there, and that we ate there before. I've eaten there a couple of times. It's very good. That's the place that has the walnut chicken. Which is really
Thank you. So I guess if people want authentic Moroccan food, they should just go to your house and have a day with you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, come on over. So the other thing I'm doing that to put in later, so I'm going to reduce the heat, and I have to let it come to a boil first. Then I'm going to reduce the heat and put the top on it and simmer for about an hour. But in the meantime, I did ahead of time things to get ready, which was to soak apricots. So I soaked 6 apricots in hot water beforehand. So they can just sit there in the water until I'm ready to use them, because dried apricots will reconstitute quite a bit in the water. And I also did the same thing with the prunes. So you take 6 apricots and I think 12 prunes, and the prunes also just plump up really good if you let them soak for a while. And of course, you buy prunes with no pits. So those are sitting there ready to go. After this 1 hour time, you put that in, you put the apricots, the prunes, and you add orange peel. Now, I used pieces of orange peel. I just cut off a big orange. So you want to make sure orange leaves a lovely flavor. You just use, people think, oh, just wash it off. You just don't want it got covered with wax or something. I don't think they do that with oranges much. But anyway, it says use 3 to 4 strips of orange. I think I'll make one more. I love the orange flavoring. It's much better. And you don't want the white stuff on there. You want just the peel. Give up a little bit of this white. Yep. So the peel is sitting here ready to go. Whenever we're ready. That's one of the things I like to do, is get everything out ahead, kind of measure out what you need, and then when you get to that part of the recipe, just dump it in, which is great. Now, you'll see that on the recipe, after this cooks, and after it comes to a little boil, which it's just beginning to do now, and I'm going to cover it. And if you're not using a tagine, you can use any kind of big heavy Dutch oven or something and put the lid on it. Now, some tagines cookers have a hole in the top. We're supposed to let out the steam, but we never saw any while we were there that had holes in the top. They all were solid. But that case, you may, if you don't want it to boil over, if you have a lot, you might want to just pull it up a little bit so that on the side every once in a while so the steam gets out a little bit. But I didn't have any problem with this before. So, so once this simmers for an hour, then I'm going to add the apricots and the prunes. Now I'm not going to put the water in. I'm just going to pull the fruit out of the water and put that in and let them simmer for about 20 minutes. And then the orange peel. And then after that stirs for 20 minutes, then I'm going to add honey. Now, this sounds weird, but it's really good. It says 1 to 2 tablespoons of dark honey. Well, I don't really know that matters what kind of honey. Our honey is all dark because we have beehives in the backyard. So this is out of our beehive. We harvested this last fall, a year ago, I guess. So I've got a little bit left in this jar and another jar. So it is natural, unfiltered honey, and it tastes really great, I think. It's just from what the bees get it from whatever flowers they find in the yard or my neighbor's yard, or they go for hundreds of miles sometimes gathering stuff. So what we do is we go to City Farmers, which I think is one of our list of places to go next year. We're planning ahead. I don't know if anybody's been to City Farmers. It's off of 94. And it's an absolutely fun place for the kind of a nursery. They have lots of stuff, but they also have bee supplies. They have canning supplies. They have everything an old-fashioned kind of nursery would have. And they have animals. So it's kind of a everything place. But they're so good about everything and helping people. And they actually have a great big thing. It's like a big metal canister like this that you put the things of the honey stacks that come on little squares, and you put those in this, and then this is a self-done one, so you turn it and it slings all the honey out into the bottom and then we have a thing that has, like a bucket with a spigot on it, and we'll put it in there. And then from there we pick out any impurities, and then we put it in sterilized jars. So we just bought these, I kind of neat octagonal jars to put them in and give them for Christmas presents and stuff too, but they're really good. So this has kind of come to a boil now a little bit. Yeah, it's boiled enough. You want to make sure the meat is all under the sauce. Yeah. All right. And so I'm going to put the top on here. That may be the last you're going to see it for a while. Sorry, when it's all done, I'll take a picture and send it to Bonnie so you can see what it looks like finished. But it's just making something that, if I had made 2 batches and made one the day before, but I only have 1 cooker, so that's a little hard to do too. So the other thing I was going to show you that I always serve with this, get that down low enough here. Now you don't want to really simmer. I turned it to low, which is probably best where it goes. So the other thing I always serve this with, and I'll show you how to make that real quick. I always serve it with couscous. So you can buy couscous at Trader Joe's, of course. My second favorite place to shop, except for Costco. So, well, and then I get Costco, the basic stuff, Trader Joe's for a lot of stuff that they have really interesting stuff. And whatever you can't buy there, you can buy next door at Ralph's or Whole Foods. So no shortage of places to shop around here. So I usually make the couscous on top of the stove. Is the easiest way. You can microwave it, but I don't know. I think things in the microwave sometimes are kind of tough tasting. So they tell you right on the back of the package, you use a saucepan with a cup of water or broth. I like to make it with broth and 2 tablespoons of butter and a half teaspoon of salt. Bring it to a boil and remove it from the heat. Once you do that, then you just throw in 1 cup of dry couscous, stir it, cover it, and let it sit for 5 minutes. So it's probably the easiest side dish you could ever make. So let's see if I can lid to that. Just swing the lid to it. I think this. So I'm going to put in a cup of broth. I just use low sodium Trader Joe's chicken broth, but you can use vegetable broth, or you can just do it with water if you want. But I think it has a better flavor when you do it with broth. So I'm going to bring this to a boil. Sorry. We've gone out of the, it's okay. It's rough. You go back to knitting. I can't believe her. She's knitting the whole time we're doing anything. Like crazy. So I'm bringing the water to a boil. I'm going to put in a tablespoon of this. Doesn't need to be precise. So just chop off some butter to put in there. About the right amount. Right. And some salt. And I find using a salt box is so much easier than using a salt shaker, because you can just dip in and measure whatever you want. That's a quarter. I don't know if I put as much salt as it says, so. This is half. Anyway, see, it's much easier when you're using the salt box and you've got to use measuring cup.
So if any of the participants have questions, I think you can go ahead and unmute yourself or write it in the chat. I know Nancy would be happy to answer them if so.
Yep, I'll answer any you can. I'm just putting the couscous on. Otherwise, I've got pretty much all you're going to get to see here, unfortunately. And when I'm all finished, I will send a picture to Vanya, and then she can post it with the recipes and stuff, or with the video online. Just bringing this to the boil. I usually use a different burner, but that's okay. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit more about this while we're waiting for the water to boil. So this book is actually lovely. We did buy some textiles when we were in Morocco too, so I made cushions for the couch cushions in the back of my office. And oh, here's a picture of. There is a picture somewhere of making the preserved lemons. Here it is. So in the same book, it has the thing, if you want to make the chicken one with preserved lemons, essentially what you do is take lemons that are not waxy. So I don't know, I just pick them in the backyard so there's no wax on them. And you cut, like you're going to cut it into quarters, but you don't go all the way through. So you're going 3/4 of the way through and cut it in quarters from one end. And then you stuff salt, coarse salt, all into the lemon, and you pack salt around it. And when you get all the lemons ready, you put them in a sterilized jar, and you stuff 1 tablespoon of salt into each lemon, then pack them into a large jar, which has been sterilized in boiling water, and store in a cool place in the refrigerator until they're soft. But this is usually about a month. So you seal the jar up, put it in the refrigerator for a month. And when you get ready to use it, you're going to rinse off the salt. But really what you're using is not the pulp. You're really using the lemon rind. So that's kind of interesting. And if you buy a thing of them already done, it's much easier. You don't have to wait a month. I don't know. I don't usually have that much room, extra room in the refrigerator to wait forever. This book also, and you can see this is a beautiful tagine, all decorated. They were lovely. They had them every place, but most of it has lead paint in it. So for cooking, you might want to use one just to serve in, although that sort of gives me the creeps too. So, but it all looks lovely when they present it. And another one with lamb tagine with chestnuts, saffron, and pomegranate seeds. Now I haven't made this one yet, but I really do like chestnuts, so that would be good. And here's the one we just made. So this is what it's going to look like when it's all finished. Now, a lot of times, let's see if I can, there are some that are just vegetable, and I have not made one, and there are a lot of beef tagine recipes in here. I have not made one with, here's the one I have made, chicken tagine with preserved lemons, green olives, and thyme. And it's really good. Now, this one is not in a decorated tagine. You can see it's not as pretty, but much more serviceable. Okay. And a lot of recipes in here that I think are really good. I also had cut one out. Let's see, I'd gotten one from New York Times Magazine. New York Times Cooking had one for chicken tagine with olives and preserved lemons. There are a lot of things with olives in them too, which are very good. And then there are ones that are just vegetable. There are vegetable tagines. So you just have to look for the recipes. If you want me to send you a recipe, just email me. It's just nancygroves@me.com. And I'll be glad to send you a recipe out of the book. Okay, water's boiling. So what I'm going to do is just toss in the couscous and set it aside, put a lid on it. That's all. You don't have to cook it. It's going to be ready in 5 minutes. So turn on the thing. You can see what it looks like. I think this is the time. Okay. So a lot of times when they serve, like you'll see this picture has the couscous all underneath it and then things laid on top. But also a lot of times they'll show you you pull the meat stew back to the sides, because this is pretty deep rounded thing. It doesn't look like it from there, but it's pretty deep. Pull it back to the sides and pile the couscous in the middle in a big stand-up kind of like a little volcano. And I was told that some places they, at a feast where they're making a big thing of it and they use these huge copper pots, they'll put the couscous in first, make a big hole, make it sort of like a volcano, and pour the stew into the middle. But I don't know, to me, it's like, okay, I want to see how much couscous and how much tagine I can. But, you know, for serving a lot of people, I guess that works. It looks very pretty. So
That's
anyway.
fantastic. I'm jealous I can't smell it. Is the only thing.
It smells good.
It's terrible. It's just awful. You don't want to smell it because you're just gonna be so hungry.
Donna's sitting here knitting.
Oh.
So yeah, you
No,
can tell I went
I'm
to
sitting
cooking
here
school, too.
smelling.
So
Question. Oh, sorry. Quick question from Debbie. What else would be classified as a typical Moroccan food in addition to tagines?
Well, it depends a little bit on what part of Morocco you're in. When we went back over to up the ocean, so you're up, you can be in the Atlas Mountains and you're in snow, and there are monkeys who live in the snow, which is kind of interesting. I didn't know that. And then when you go south, you'll find a lot of places where they're growing big trees for the argan nuts, and the argan nuts are what they make argan oil from. So I have a great picture that I wish said to Vanya to put up if she wants to, is that they have to keep the goats out of the trees, because the goats will get up, and they're big trees, they're taller than the house. And the goats get up because they can climb all up in the tree, and they'll eat the argan oil nuts. We went to a place where they actually crack the argan nuts. And of course, it's all women doing the work, of course. And they're in this long room, and they each have a little station where they're using a rock. I mean, this looks medieval. They're using rocks to break up the argan knot thing to get the nut out of the middle, because the outside heart is very hard. So you wonder how the goats eat these things. But I think goats can eat anything. But they sit there and they knock these out. And then, so a lot of that's one of their products is they export argan oil, which a lot of people put on your hair. We brought back some. We also brought back food grade, which is what you can use with salad oil. And it has a little different taste. It's very good. And then if you go further up, we're up on the coast. And there, you would have sworn you were in France. We stayed in 2 different hotels that were primarily French. It was like all French food. Everybody in the place spoke French. It was like, okay, guess I had sort of forgotten that the French occupied Morocco for a good number of years. And so there's a lot of French food. There's, and we also were, had to find 1 or 2 nights we had to eat in different restaurants because it was during, what do you call it again? When the Ramadan? Yeah, it was during Ramadan. And so people, like our guide even, he's Moroccan, and he's been doing this for 14 or 15 years. So he knew all the good places you could eat otherwise during Ramadan. But during Ramadan, most of the restaurants don't open until like 2 in the morning, because then people fast all day long, and the help doesn't want to come to work. And so it's a good thing to watch when Ramadan is, when you go to Morocco. It wasn't the whole time you were there, just part of it. And it was interesting because our guide would not drink water all day. He'd get up at 2 in the morning and eat big dinner. And then he didn't eat again until the next day. Well, now some people break their fast at like 6 or 7 at night. He was breaking his fast at 2 in the morning so he could be out all day and not eat or drink. I was really surprised. I didn't know it meant you couldn't have water either all day. But it's a fascinating country to go to, and parts of it are very much like being in France. Wonderful French pastries. And then the further down you go, the further south or east you go, the more it's like the desert communities and more tagine type cooking. Lots of vegetables and meats and stuff. But
Do they eat seafood?
yeah, there's actually, she asked if they eat, Donna just asked if they eat seafood. And I said I had never, because they're right on the coast, or some of them are right on the coast, some of them are in the desert, some are on the coast. But there's actually some tagines, which recipe, but must be in the traditional book that I got there. They actually show some pictures of fish tagine, which I thought was kind of interesting. I went, okay, well, here's root de mer. So it's got see the picture? It's got fish and shrimp all over it, or langosta, and what do they call them? Prawns on here. See, there are funny things where people call things different names in this book than what we would know in the US too. Here's a tagine of stuffed sea trout. Oh, that sounds kind of good. Try. I have not tried making a seafood tagine yet, but this one is a seafood. Trout has 2 sea trout, prawns, squid, Chinese noodles, which is soaked, tomatoes, potatoes, green pepper, red pepper, olives, candied lemon peel, and thyme, oil. Here's how you get the recipes. A half small glass of oil, a half small glass of olive oil. It's like, okay, what's the small glass? And 50 black olives and one fish bouillon. So it's really interesting. And then there's a sauce that goes with it with candied lemon peel in it too, that goes with the fish tagine. So this is kind of interesting. I think I might try to do this one. I have not done that. We did get some recipe cards from the cooking school too. So I brought those home. And our couscous is all done by now. It's been 5 minutes. You just take a fork and fluff it up. And you've got the quickest side dish you've ever made. Fluffy couscous. It's very fluffy. It's really great. It tastes good. It's very kind of nutty flavored a little bit. All right. So there's the couscous to go with your tagine.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I know we're running out of time here, but I do want to say thank you from all of us. And we do appreciate you joining us for this food demo. And again, I am so jealous I don't get to actually try it. Donna, you are lucky.
She won't get to try it either unless she stays another hour. But I may send you some. Anyway, so if you have any questions, or hey, if any of you have any good Moroccan restaurants, let me know. I would love to know some in San Diego. All right.
That's
okay.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and share the items that you send with the group. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Tanya. Thanks to Donna too for doing all the setup with this. It's much easier when I don't have to move the iPad around.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks, Manya.